Another way that you can add images to your design is by using vector graphics. And this gives you a completely different vibe than, say, using a photographic image as a background or as a single image. And this is something that you might want to consider. I think that for this project, probably if you want to use a whole background picture, doing a picture is great. But if you just want one image, doing a vector image could be a really cool way to do that. Now, the way that I did this was, and I'm just going to find this blank document, hit W, and we're just going to start from scratch. The way that I did this was I went to Illustrator and I found a picture of a pipe. I opened a document in Illustrator. I found a picture of a pipe online and I copy and pasted it into Illustrator. Now, making this graphic took me a long time, so I'm not going to do it for you now just because I don't want the video to be so long. But basically, what I did was, let's just hide all of the stuff in layer 2 and 3, which is where the picture, which is where my pipe is. So I had this pipe from the internet, and then I used the pen tool and the shape tool and the different shape tools to create my pipe. So now I hit P to get the pen. And this is something that might seem familiar to you if you've taken the intro class. What I did was this is a little bit like what you did for your letter images. Now I'm not going to go into the entire intricacies of this pipe because it is a kind of, I mean, it's a simple shape in that the lights and darks are really clear. But, and I'm getting that little caret symbol by holding down Option, which gives me the what's it called, the convert anchor point tool. So the intricacies of getting this pipe to look nice, like I just started by dropping these points and messing around with it until I was happy with what it looked like, which took me a while because I can be a little bit finicky and these details just really get me. Then, okay, so that's like the basic shape of the pipe. And then I wanted to capture that part, right, like over here, the middle part. So what I did was I used the eraser. I think the knife would be better. The knife is something you can get by going to the advanced tools and dragging it in. But anyway, so it's not by default in your tool panel. So I use the knife to cut this apart. And now I have two shapes. Let me lock this. I have two shapes, one that I can make dark and one that I can make light. So I'm going to make this one, let's go to color swatches, and I don't actually need it to be accurate yet. And I can always change the colors later, but I guess let's start with it being black and white. That's what we're doing. Here's a grayscale, so we can just use those. Now to get the top, I used the ellipse tool. Then I rotated this ellipse. Let's go in. I'm going to need, go to color, swatches, I'm going to turn this off. We have a lighter color, then a dark color, then a light color, then a dark color. And I'm just gonna be a little bit shorthanded. I'm duplicating that, making it darker. And we want it to be smaller. Anyway, so I just mess around until I have a shape that I like. Then the light, and let's just call it for now. If I was, when I made this for real, you can see how I did the light, then the dark, then the light, and all of this adds a really cool amount of depth to the picture. Something else that I did to add depth was I added some light shapes over here. I did that by duplicating this and making it, and then duplicating it again, then using the Pathfinder options to, and when I select two images, this kind of just shows up for you. And doing the one, I use the one that subtracts the front, so then you're left with this shape here. Then I made that white, and I'm rotating it. And so these are all just things that you can do to, then I'm going to edit this a little bit because it's not totally right. These are all things that you can do to add depth. It's really just about, making a shape that looks cool and matches what you're trying to do. Okay. Now obviously this pipe that I just made does not look quite as good as the one that I spent time making. I just don't want to make you sit here and watch me make a pipe. So anyway, I have this file. Once I have the pipe looking the way that I want it to, I'm going to hit save. And just like I did with my Photoshop file, I can just go to InDesign, go to File, Place, and place my pipe. Now, anytime that you want to make a change to this in Illustrator, you don't have to recopy it in, you can just update the link. So look, if I turned this back on, so let's get my green box back. Let's say for some reason I wanted to show my green box, I just hit save. Now I go to layers and I update this link, and it should show the green box. It's not doing that, which is, I guess, not a big deal since I don't actually want it. Oh, you know what? It is showing it. It's just there's this white shape behind. Let's see what happens. Maybe if I make it bigger. No. Okay. Well, that's not happening. But in theory, if you were to change things, it should update. Let's try doing a change that we actually want. Or that would be useful. Let's say I change the color of the pipe, so I just hit save, and now let's update this link, and there, it updated. So what's helpful about this is once you can make your shape in a grayscale, and then when you get up to adding color, you can just add the color that it's supposed to be and just update the link, and you don't have to redo everything that you've done. Okay, now when I want to go and place it, I'm going to just refer back to my thumbnail. Here it is. I want this pipe to go to be vertical on my page and kind of cut the page in half. So the first thing I'm going to do is rotate it, and I'm going to flip it. There we go. And just those are the simple things to do. Now, I don't really love how it's cutting the page in a diagonal like this. I guess that could be cool, but I think that it's making a weird shape over here. What I'd rather it do is be a little straighter. So I'm just going to mess around with it until it's at an angle that I like. And this doesn't really change the file at all. It's just about kind of messing around until I'm happy with it. Okay, so I'm mostly happy with this. I'm going to stop changing it. And also I just want to point out that whenever I resize it, I'm holding down Command and Shift at the same time. That if I don't do that, if I don't hold down Command and I try to resize it, I'm just going to be resizing the bounding box, and that isn't necessarily going to be so helpful. So if you want to resize the image and the bounding box at the same time, you have to hold down Command, and Shift will help constrain the proportions. Okay, I'm not going to keep messing around with this because it's not a good way to use time in the video, and I'm also going to move this down to layer 1. I'm going to lock it so that way I have more flexibility. Now I'm just going to add my type. I want the complete works of, and I'm going to change that to Edita. That was the font that I found for this that I liked. And I'm also going to make this bigger. Not that big. That seems okay. And now I'm going to make a text box for Sherlock Holmes. And I can also change the typeface before I even start typing. Now I can write but you just want to make sure that you click out and then you'd write Sherlock Holmes. Well, you'd write whatever book you're actually doing. I'm going to make this much bigger. That's much too big. I think that's pretty good. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to align this to the H. Now in my thumbnail, I'm going to copy and paste this so that way I don't have to make a new text box and write Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Let's make this small so that way it fits in the space. And in my thumbnail, I said that I wanted to put all the other extra text over here. And instead of typing this out, I'm just going to copy and paste it from over here, just to save some time. And let's make this black. Okay, so I thought that I wanted to put everything here. But now that I'm looking at it, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's name is really small, and he's the author, so I want his name to be bigger. So I'm going to move it over here, which gives it more space to make his name bigger. So this is what I mean when I say that your thumbnail is not a commitment. You can change things as you see fit. It's really just a place to start. Okay, so this is how I have my stuff spaced. I can also move things around this way. I can hit W and now I'm in my workspace. That also can make things easier to select. Now I'm going to put in a background color. And I want to do that on layer 1. For my background color, I think that I want to make a black layer. This is on layer 2. I want layer 1. I want to have a black background because I want this to feel really moody. And let's put that rectangle underneath the pipe. Cool. Now the pipe is looking pretty cool. However, my text is not showing up at all, and that's because I have black text on top of a black background. So what I need to do here is make this text a color. I can make this text the purple color. And I actually really like that because it keeps this whole moody feeling of the book cover, but it is a little bit hard to read because you've got darks on darks. So what I'm going to do is my trick of duplicating and having a white background, like an underneath white, to give kind of an outline to it. So I'm going to choose the one that's underneath and make it white. I don't like that, so I'm going to change this. I'm going to make the one that's underneath a low value of purple. And I do think that that looks better. I think that it might not work so well for this, and that might just be too small for it to work. But let's see what it looks like when I do it on my Sherlock Holmes. Let's take the value down to 30. And see, that I think looks pretty good. And we can get rid of the one for Sir Arthur Conan Doyle as well. Okay, so this is how you can use your vector graphic on the book cover to make something really cool. Notice that this is not the only way that you can do it. Another thing that I tried with this pipe was this image right here. And what I did for this is I started out by, let's just actually, yeah, let's lock layer 1. So what I did here was I started with everything, I started with the text just being regular and straight, and then I rotated the whole thing, and then I plopped the pipe down into the design just to see how it would look. There's a lot of cool things that you can do with an image. You just want to make sure that it's guided and not random.